Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It's Monday, and hopefully you did not wake up like me, confused. Like, is it Sunday or is it Monday? Because the weekend just went by so fast. I was like, whatever. So at least I did this at 4 o'clock in the morning as opposed to like 7 o'clock when I'm late at that point, you know? So anyway, today's episode is all about communication once again. So for better or for worse, these videos are designed to help encourage communication with your provider as a medical coder. So when you have a very good communication with your provider, the rewards that you will get alone with the documentation and with just a good working relationship will reap many, 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 many benefits. So it's story time. So this all started a few moons ago. I won't say many moons, because I'll say a few moons. So in my place that I work, there was a gentleman that walked around, and basically he was like a liaison between providers and nurses, or providers and medical coders. So he had done some rounds in the clinic, and we are fortunate enough to be embedded in our clinics. Not all coders are embedded in their clinics. If you've been around the field, you know what I mean. Sometimes they stick us coders out in a little box, which I was in a little box for many years. I was in a room full of like 20 women at one time, so it made for some interesting times. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked into another story, but anyway, so this liaison, walked around, and he was asking these providers, what would make things better for you? What would you like to see happen? Is there anything that, can be improved in your work area? And one of the providers said, well, I would like some feedback from the coders. So he said, yeah, sure. That seems like an easy fix. So this liaison guy, I don't want to say his name just in case he's watching. He was walking around, and that was the first day I had met him. And he said, oh, and I'm not going to say the doctor's name either, so I'm just going to say Dr. X. He's like, are you the medical coders? And then we said, yes, because I was in an office with a partner at the time. And he said, well, are you, which one of you is the coder for Dr. X? And I said, that would be me. And up until this point, I had emailed him on occasion to do like queries, and I had emailed him for like questions, that I had on his documentation. But I mean, and if he did something really spectacular, I would send him an email, and that was it. I never thought of anything else about it. And he said, well, Dr. X was telling me that he would like, he's not getting enough feedback from you, and he would like some more feedback. And of course, I'm stunned, because I'm thinking I'm doing everything right. I'm coding all of his encounters. What's the problem? And I said, oh, really? So he said that. And he's like, yeah, he says you don't talk to him. And I said, I have emailed him. And immediately I became defensive, like, in myself, not upset at him or not really upset at anybody. I'm just like defensive. I'm like, I thought I was doing everything right. And so he's like, no, he just said that, he would like for, you to maybe come visit him and talk to him, make sure that he's doing everything okay. And I'm like, but he's doing everything great. I've sent him emails and told him so. And he's like, well, why don't you just kind of, go visit him for a little bit? So I said, okay, I'm going to fix this right now. So, because remember, I'm hot, okay? I'm like, how dare he go and say that? But I went over there. So I go over, and we had previous discussions before. He had been very lively in one of the classes that we had given. But, I mean, everything was cool, So I go over there, and I knock on the door, and he looks over at me, and he smiles. He's like, oh, hey, how are you? And I said, oh, I'm good. And I said, so I hear from a little birdie that you have a problem with my communication. And he's like, well, no, it's not that. He goes, I just would like some more feedback on how am I doing on coding. I said, but sir, I've given you feedback. I I email you occasionally and let you know that you're doing good. I just figured that, no news was good news. He goes, no, I would like some feedback. I would like to know if there's anything that I'm doing wrong. And I said, okay, I don't really see anything that you're doing wrong right now, because everything that you do is very good, And I said, you follow when we have given classes, and I just don't, I don't know if there's nothing there, And he's like, well, no, I would really like communication a little bit more. So I said, okay. So as it turns out, and in talking with him later on, I learned that he doesn't like email. He doesn't like, because like email gets there's so much of it, and it's just so much traffic. And so it was more of that he wanted like one-on-one to like see me and like, hey, hey, I have this question, or while you're here, I have this question. So I was like, okay, well, I can work with that, but he had never said, and I had never asked. So it was part of that whole thing of, you gotta communicate, because sometimes if you're just sitting there, neither one knows anything. So like it's what is a good analogy? A good analogy would be like a good marriage, right? You have a husband and a wife, you have your two spouses, and if they communicate, then everything is good. If there's no communication, then there's a problem, right? So it's the same thing, for better or for worse. You've got to communicate with your provider. And don't only communicate with them when there's something bad going on. When there's something good, or they do something truly awesome, let them know, because they want to know too. These providers, whether they're PAs, nurse practitioners, surgeons, doctors, all of them have a tremendous amount of stress put on them every day, whether it's patients complaining to them, or their subordinates giving them a hard time, or something, anything. They're always getting the rough end sometimes. So if they're doing something really good, it's nice for them to hear it. Okay? And so one of my providers last week, when I was flying through her documentation, I went over there and I told her, I said, you're a freaking rock star. And she was surprised. She was like, wow. And I said, yes, you are a freaking rock star, because I was able to fly through her documentation. But she was very glad to hear this. At least she knows that she's doing really well. So that's why I always say, for better or worse, you got to let them know. And you don't want them to always think when they're seeing you coming and talking to them that it's something bad. You don't want that. You want to be able to build that trust. And in order to build trust, you have to communicate. And you have to be willing to say, hey, I'm here. And if you need me, or if you have any questions, let me know. Because even saying, if you have any questions, let me know, people are not always thinking it. So sometimes if you get in front of them, they're like, oh, I have a question. Because like especially like when you're in a class and you ask, hey, do you have any questions? And everybody just kind of gives you like the deer in the headlights look. It's one of those things. And then if you're casually walking around and they say, oh yes, by the way, I have a question. So you want to make sure that you're accessible to them, as accessible as you can. If it is not possible in your facility or wherever you work, and they just keep you kind of housed in one area, you do take breaks, right? So why don't you just kind of go over to the section that you're coding, and just kind of walk around and say, hi, how you doing? Sometimes it's kind of hard to do that, I know, but sometimes it's a little bit easier than you think. So just got to try and put that out there, because believe me, when it is harder for them to dismiss things that you say, if it's always by email, if you get in front of them, if they can put a face to the name, it makes it a little bit harder for them to kind of not, disregard what you say. You know, they'll generally pay attention to somebody that they know. So if you're just a constant voice on email, it's likely that it can be ignored. Not always. Some people are really good with email, but not all the time, because you know, you want to make sure that you kind of have some face-to-face time, and you know, you build that good relationship. And it is very important, because believe me, that is a quarter of the battle too. Aside from the coding part, is making sure that you have a very good relationship with your providers. And sometimes you have to work on the charm a little bit with some, because it depends on their personality too. Because there are some that will welcome you with open arms, and then there are some that will say, you've never been to medical school, I don't have to listen to you. But it's not until you kind of show them later on, hey, I am important, that they're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should have been listening. So, but, you know, it just, everything takes time. But I encourage you to do that. I encourage all coders to talk to their providers as much as they'll let them. And have you done your coding tip of the week yet? So that's something else too. Do a coding tip of the week. And if you are not really sure what I'm talking about, check out my other video where I talk about my coding tip of the week. So I will be back later on this week to do more videos. And I hope you all had a great Monday, and I hope you all have a great rest of the week. And I will see you next time. And if you like this video, like and subscribe, because I will be talking more about communication and medical coding tips. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.